This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and a very cold morning, and a welcome to you all from wherever you may be in the world. Specifically, welcome to andBeyond and Ngala here this morning. What we've got is a beautiful scene of just what looks like at the moment some grass and some bushes and some trees. But if we look very carefully and maybe wait here a few moments, something might pop out of these bushes and surprise us. It's a beautiful leopard and her two cubs. We've been with them for the past few minutes, and she's kind of walking in this long grass. The cubs are well below the level of the grass. But morning to you all. Knuckle down and enjoy your very own live safari from the African bush. Okay, everybody, as I said, there was a female leopard and her two cubs. She's just walking this way. So I kind of like try to loop ahead, try to see if we could get a quick look from the front side of her and her cubs and kind of get her to walk towards us. She might have just stopped for now in those thicker bushes. It's interesting. She does take it very slowly and very cautiously when she walks with the cubs. I went to go and check the last position of where they were last night, and the two cubs were in the same place this morning. And as we kind of got there, we looked around a little bit, and the cubs got super excited. They jumped down the tree, and Mom was obviously calling them. We could hear her calling them. They jumped out of the tree and went running towards her. They hadn't seen her the whole night, it seemed like, and then went straight towards her. But good morning, everybody. I'm Daniel Fisher, and on camera this morning we've got OD. It'll be very interesting to see. Yesterday they were on a carcass, and it seemed like the cubs had dropped the carcass, and then hyenas had taken it, and then they'd moved away from that kind of spot. So I wonder if Mom didn't leave last night to go hunting again. It'll be unusual for her to put so much pressure on herself to catch food straight away. I would have thought she would have spent a little bit of time at least enjoying the fact that she's got a full belly and try and take some time out and relax and conserve some energy. But being a mother is incredibly hard, particularly when you've got two hungry baby leopards to feed. Can you hear hyenas calling in the distance? So I'm just going to spend a few more moments here just watching into the grass. If nothing kind of comes towards us here, I might go back towards where I saw her last. It was only about 20 meters away towards where the camera is facing where I saw her last. She might have just knuckled down in the long grass and disappeared. She might even have a carcass stored underneath one of those trees. I hope not, as I'm sure sometime this morning if a carcass is sitting under those trees, it's going to be stolen. So, yeah, we'll see if she doesn't pop out here. Maybe there is a carcass. Maybe she's on her way to go and take them towards another carcass. It is a bit of a chilly morning here. I'm just kind of waiting for the sun to come up. It is light enough to see what's going on around us. Okay, so this morning, it's myself here at andBeyond and Ngala, and then at Djuma we've got Tristan, Lauren, Steve at Pridelands, and Damon at Phinda. If you are under the age of 18, please pop us an email at kidsquestions@wildearth.tv and register on WildEarth website. Head over to the Live Safari page and you can submit your questions there. Looking forward to having you all on drive this morning. It seems like we've got a full house with all the feeds and all the reserves going. It's been a good few drives for the past few drives. I'm really hoping this one continues. We've been off to an amazing start. I know we haven't quite had a glimpse of these leopard cubs just yet, but they are here, and I am going to try my best to show you them. sure the cubs are super playful this morning as well. I wonder if I shouldn't try. Odie, let's try and see if we can squeeze a little bit back and then forwards. And this is a good spot. I mean, if they had been moving, we would have seen them. Let's try not to reverse Odie into anything too serious. Back again. Tom, how old are these cubs? These cubs are about 18 weeks old. So just over 4 months old. They're still very small. Been eating meat for just over a month or so now. And still incredibly and solely dependent on mom for everything that they do. So that's, I think, why they were so excited to see mom. She'd kind of told them to stay put in one area last night, and they are very obedient still at this age, and they listened. And I went there this morning and they were in exactly the same spot, but my timing was, for a change, perfect. It's not always right. As I got there, the mother seemed to be getting back as well, and now they've just popped into some long grass here. I'm really hoping we can spot them again. I mean, I've got my eyes here. Odie's on the back, searching. His head is just going 360, watching for any kind of spots or a tail up. Oopsie. Oh, come on. I mean, you can see the terrain as well. There's quite a lot of these quarry bushes around us. This is some long grass. Perfect hiding place for leopard cubs, although I don't think she's necessarily hiding from us. She might just be kind of concealing herself to everyone or everything around her. She doesn't want any attention on her whatsoever. I want to rather go that way now. Okay, so if you guys give me a few moments to kind of just have a good look around here, I'm going to send you over to have a look at what the weather's doing today.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Team Wendy. My name's Lauren. I have BK on camera, and we have Miss June. I think it's June. Yes, it's June. Hello, dear. Can you just stop for a moment, please? Now, she's walking on the Hyena Den Road, Jackson's Road. I'm going to follow. I want to keep up with her. Let's follow Weeks. Now, the hyenas, I believe Luca was one of them, I'm not sure of the other one, made a kill on the down cam last night. Wasn't the most pleasant thing to listen to, those vocalizations, but killing, hunting by coursing, chasing, catching, and eating very, very rapidly. Unbelievable, these hyenas. They always choose to hunt on the dam cam. And it just shows you that they do hunt. 100%. It's winter. How do you think these big animals survive this huge body mass? By just stealing from leopards? No way. June, dear, where are you going? She's just milling around. Chilling and milling. I love June. She can give Ribbon a run for her money with a body size like that. I'm going to follow, though. This is interesting. This block's easy. I know this block well. This is where the hyena dens used to be. All three of them. I could drive this block with my eyes closed. I think she'll eventually be heading to the other den on Little Gowrie, but still, I just want to follow. I don't get to spend that much time with my hyenas these days. Ah, what a great start. The Talamatis travelled far yesterday. No one can find them. They've sort of crossed way into the south of Djuma, yes, which is more Nkahuma land. So I wonder where they're going to end up today. I'll keep you updated. She's just wandering through the block, using her nose, trying to pick up on any scent that she can her nostrils can find, any potential breakfast. She's going to pop out on Weaver's Nest, everyone. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take the long way around. And believe it or not, where the 3 dens are right now, the old dens, 1, 2, and 3, which you all know very, very well. If you were to take a direct line from den number 3 and go completely south, you'll almost, by maybe about 100 meters or so, hit their new den on Little Gowrie. It's all very much in a straight line. They haven't really gone further north or east or west, straight south by about 100 meters. There's the new den. So they're staying in the same area, if you like. Okay, it's a very cold one this morning, everyone. We're going to try and keep up with June, and we're going to send you guys over to Steve to say good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Sunday morning with the dawn emerging in the east. Beautiful strawberry orange colour. Hello, everyone. My name is Steve, joined by Paul on camera, and we are on top of some rocks again, just waiting for the sun to warm us. We feel like a couple of rock dussies, just enjoying the morning light as it starts to emerge in the east. We were talking last night as we closed down about how our ancestors, did they sit around and watch the sun set and think, oh gosh, how pretty is that? Or did they think to themselves, the night is on its way, we need to secure ourselves, which is probably how many of the animals go about their lives. Last night there was an enormous amount of hyena activity and calling and leopards last night. Excuse me. The nocturnals were definitely busy on the half moon last night. And I'm sure many animals wake up in the morning and see the sun and go, yes, another day. I survived. Not only that, it's been a pretty fresh morning, pretty fresh evening. And nice to just appreciate the beautiful colours as they unfold.
Right now, because I want this hyena June to pop back out and for us to relocate her. She's moving through this block, her very old haunt. This was where her little one, her cub, grew up. So she's very familiar with this area, but I really, really want to catch up with her. But mobile hyenas are not easy to keep up with. Lions, yes. Leopards, yes. Cheetah, yes. When they're not running at remarkable speeds. But hyenas, really not easy to keep up with. But I'm going to try. Oh, wow. I am going to let you see our sunrise. How is that, BK? Can you work with this? Wow, that is absolutely incredible. Just appreciate it for a moment or two before I continue my search for the hyenas. Beautiful. Now that we've taken a moment to admire the sunrise, we are going to keep moving.
Yeah, Chris, now this corner they're heading straight north.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, just stopped to kind of marvel at the sunrise. It really is beautiful, and I love how the colors kind of change. And in the next few half an hour to an hour, that sun's going to go from this kind of like orange, fiery color to like this yellow, bright light. We can still kind of like look at the sun now, but as soon as it starts to go a little bit higher, it becomes too bright to look at. And it's amazing how big the sun is when it's kind of on the horizon like that. It's kind of an optical illusion with your mind, where the sun looks so much bigger there because it's being compared to all these earthly kind of objects, like all the trees that you see in picture there, and that one specifically makes that sun look huge. So I've also spent the past few moments kind of having a look around in this area where we last saw that leopard, and it always blows me away with leopard how you're with them 1 minute and the next minute you know exactly where they are, but you can't see them. Well, not that I know exactly where this mother and her cubs are, but I've got a good idea where I think they may be, and she's just kind of disappeared. I love how, geez, it's all on their watch, you know. If they want to be seen, they'll allow you to do as much as they want and allow you to. Otherwise, if they don't want to be seen, they're just going to hide in the long grass, or maybe even just turn around. So I'm just sitting here for the moment listening. Any kind of bird alarm calls, those little cubs playing around, they might start to make a little noise because we are really close to where we last saw them. She could have easily turned around and gone back the way we came. Christine, such a dream to wake up to this. It is indeed. Every sunrise, every sunset, particularly in the wintertime, it is beautiful. And I mean, I know for you guys at home, this is amazing, and it looks like it's beautifully hot and warm. Let me tell you, it's pretty cold, pretty chilly this morning, but that sun is always such a glimmer of hope that it is going to heat up and warm up today, and in the next hour or so it's going to warm up drastically, and it's going to be super comfortable. But it is an absolute dream to kind of wake up to this kind of African sunrise this morning, listening to the noises that are around us. All the birds are starting to call, something that we call a dawn chorus. Like all the birds start to call, kind of announce their presence for the day, just check on their neighbors who have been sleeping around them, check if everyone's still there before they start their day and kind of move out. Okay, everybody, I'm going to spend the next moment kind of just having a look at the sunrise, and then I'm going to spend the next short while carrying on to look for these leopards, seeing if we can't get lucky this morning. In the meantime, I'm going to send you over to Tristan.
Well, while Dan listens out for any alarm calls, we're at one of the most beautiful scenes we get here in this part of the world on a cold morning, and that's Chitwa Dam. I absolutely love coming to Chitwa Dam at sunrise. The sun just peeks over the water, and you get this big gold stripe through the water, and then this mist that is just rolling over the surface, with swallows flying around and the odd hippo grunt. It makes for a very, very, very pretty picture. Hey, David.
Hey.
Are you going to let me know that you're on me?
Oh,
huh?
Didn't you hear me?
No, I didn't hear you. Anyway, good morning, everybody. My name's Tristan. On camera, I've got David. And we are looking at the sunrise. I was mesmerized by the sunrise, David.
Okay.
Yeah, it does make sense, doesn't it? Anyway, David's catching me this morning, everybody. He's obviously had more coffee. Well, he's had coffee. I don't drink coffee in the morning, so that would be a no-go for me. But yes, I'll get with it. Don't worry. I shall be a lot more in tune, David. Don't worry. I've got you. I'm paying attention now. But yeah, I love this little section. It's actually a really nice spot just to sit quietly for a little bit and just to listen. I mean, the Egyptian geese are making most of the noise, but it's very, very cool just to sit here and listen to the sounds of Chitwa this time of the day. nice if our hippo decided to grunt. Now a lion started to roar, a leopard soared. Make for a very, very, very cool atmospheric addition to the morning. I love it when the hippos come out and then they blow all their steam. It's very, very cool. MGM, they do indeed. Hippos have the most relaxed schedule, I think, of everybody. Although I must kind of say I don't really know if I'd be wanting to get into that water this morning. It is cold this morning, which is evidenced by the fact that the water is steaming. The outside temperature is cold, and so it just feels like it would be a bad idea to get into cold water. But I suppose if you're an animal with, an ability to deal with that, and coupled with the fact that the water is probably actually warmer than the outside temperature, so once you get in and adjust, I suppose it's better than being out here. But they really don't really have a sort of easy life in many respects. In terms of the scheduling, it's kind of wake up in the evening, go eat some grass, come back to the water in the day, and just sleep most of the day. But life is not easy always for hippos, though. You find that male hippos have a tough time. They unfortunately get themselves into a situation where they've got to fight quite a lot. And when you fight, well, there's always a chance that you can die. So hippos typically are pretty cut up and beaten up, especially if you're a little male, for a vast majority of their lives. Isn't this beautiful, though? How eerie is this little tree with the mist and the sun kind of coming behind it, this dead tree? Did I do okay today, David? Oh, wonderful. That's good. It really is very, 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 very cool. I can hear a squirrel alarm calling. I wonder if Mareeps is not meandering around. It's been on this open clearing quite a bit. Alright, so we'll have a little look around here and just see if we can find him. We might sit at the dam for a little bit longer because it's just so pretty. In the meantime, let's send you across to Steve, who's sitting on a rock.
Welcome back to a glorious day unfolding here in Trading at Pridelands, where we just thought we'd wait a few more moments and allow you to see this sunrise with the clouds as they're now changing to a lovely orange. Cloud formations and the sun in combination is really quite a magical thing. Water vapor created by the cold front. Happy Sunday, everybody, wherever you might be.
Hi, I'm Dee from the south coast of England. Today I was told I have won the most amazing prize to go to Maritaba. Oh, I can't believe it. I became hooked on WildEarth last year when I was trying to escape COVID, and animals are my thing. I just love them and I love what WildEarth does. So that's why I wanted to become an explorer. Just so looking forward to going out to Maritaba. Want to do a walking safari. Thank you so much, WildEarth.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and it could be you jetting off on an all-expenses-paid-for safari experience. WildEarth Explorers. It's in your nature.
Hi, I'm Nikki, your guide here at andBeyond in Ngala. So my favorite animal in the African bush definitely has to be the zebra, because like people, with our fingerprints, every single zebra has a different stripe pattern. And, of course, a group of zebras together is called the dazzle. How unique is that? Come and join me or one of my colleagues here in Ngala for a sunrise and sunset safari on WildEarth.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at andBeyond in Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through andBeyond in Ngala on WildEarth. Send me live questions through the WildEarth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
We have some giraffe. You can see two, but there's actually more there. And we're viewing them from Gowrie, Main into Little Gowrie. They're at Baboon Pan. And they look absolutely gorgeous in that golden light. Finally, the sun is really starting to deliver light and not warmth yet. That cold front that was supposed to hit us hard, guys. Whew. It's not fun. But of course, these animals keep moving, keep eating. That's if you're a mammal, at least. I mean, giraffes are said to consume about 34 kilograms of foliage per day. That's a lot. That's a lot. And if you look at their patch pattern, you can actually see that the different species, which is now being classified at 4, and the subspecies have different patterns. You can compare them all. There's nice images on Google. And you can see that those sort of, I like to call them patches and not spots. Some people say spots. That's not a spot. Are completely different in each of the species. They don't have the same patterns. You get the southern, the Maasai, the reticulated, and the northern. And they all have different patch patterns. No luck at the hyena den. We drove past and we can't see anything, but I'm going to try and work my magic at some point today. I really want to spend some time with the Djuma clan. Adrian, that's really funny you should ask that. I was literally just thinking about Ribbon. I was just thinking about her. I think it was during my last stint that I saw her. So before my break, should have been about a month ago now, if not more than that. I see Ngwazi running around causing chaos on Chitwa. But I've not seen Ribbon recently. I see tracks. I think I can identify Ribbon's tracks. She's got quite unique tracks. If I can find tracks of hers, I'll show you. She's absolutely fine, don't worry. She's just not really den-bound anymore. She's fulfilled her role, chose the den site, led the communal den, controlled the communal den. And now Ngwazi doesn't need to be in a den. I wish he was, but he's not. And therefore, she just roams about with him. She'll pop into the communal den every now and then, but of course it's on Little Gowrie. It's a little bit tricky for us, although we have been given permission to enter occasionally, which has just been so wonderful. And yeah, Adrian, I don't know. But this is what happens. I remember it happened under Corky's reign too. Once the cubs get old enough, they just start roaming. They start following mom, following the other adults, because they are a clan after all. And you just lose track of them. Although we call them the Djuma clan, their territory is far larger than just Djuma. They dip their padded paws into all properties. They don't really go too far west, though, I must say. I'm just so glad that they are hunting on the dam cam, not for the sake of the antelope, but just to show how remarkable they really are and how they are surviving. Michael very kindly sent me the video. It is on YouTube. It's not the most pleasant video to watch in terms of audio, but you see that they've caught something and you see them eat it. And it just shows that they are remarkable at hunting as well. They just don't get credit for it. But I mean, the hyena den is about 500 metres from where we are now, which is Baboon Pan. So Baboon Pan, Twin Dams, it's a really good area to check if you want to try and bump into any hyenas. It was very sweet this morning. Tristan and Dobby both called me, Lauren, come, June's here, come. And they know I'm desperate to catch up with my Djuma clan as much as I can. This is very sweet. Faith agreed. They're not entirely on Djuma, but to see them around, absolutely. It's so nice to see them. Because we don't seem to get the big aggregations or the loose herds that they do in Tswalu, for example, Masai Mara. I mean, there's 3 here that I can see. There's possibly more. But they don't sort of travel about in the large numbers that they do in the Mara, at least. We used to see huge numbers of giraffe up there. One of my saddest sightings to date involved giraffe. I'm sure you'll remember that. That was hard. Brand new giraffe mother. She was young. You could tell by her size. Her calf didn't make it. But it was alive during the birthing process because it was witnessed by other vehicles. Something went wrong, we can only speculate, but that mother would not leave the calf's side. She fought off the North clan without eating, without drinking, without moving for 2 days straight, 48 hours. Oh, the North clan was there. Oh, it was heartbreaking. She wouldn't leave her calf, but it was dead. It was one of my hardest sightings, actually. I'm sure some of you will remember that. Okay, I'm not sure where I'm going to head next. I think I'm just going to bumble. If I spot a ribbon track, I'll show you. And you guys are going to head over to Dan at Ngala.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everybody. What we've got here is a beautiful Bateleur eagle. And I've just kind of looped around. We're sitting in a small little riverbed. You can see over here, I'm just trying to see if I can find tracks of that leopard and her cubs crossing over here. This is kind of where they were heading towards when we last saw them. You can just see that speck of a bird in the tree. Beautiful. Just sitting on the edge of the branch there, facing the sun. The sun is just starting to catch the bird as well, starting to warm it up. Would have spent the evening sleeping, maybe even in that exact spot. Now just waiting for it to warm up before this Bateleur starts its day. You'll see once it is warm enough, it'll kind of like ruffle its feathers, realign all its flight feathers from the night before. Oh, there's a second one as well. Looks like that might be a juvenile. In fact, maybe there's a nest in the tree. There's a second one that's just hopped into picture. I'm just trying to see if we can see any colors on it. It's a bit tricky to look into the light like it is right now. Let me just fetch a pair of binoculars. Even then, it's a bit tricky to see. Looks like it might be a juvenile, lacking kind of the black and the white that the one at the top has got. And you can see it's got all its feathers. You see this one at the bottom is kind of lifting its wing, putting its head underneath there, kind of realigning flight feathers, shuffling around. And can you see they're all puffed out as well? Pretty cool. Trying to keep themselves warm, allowing their feathers to cover as much of the surface area as well, and allowing new, warmer air to kind of get in underneath the feathers. See this one just having woken up. The one at the top left looked like it might have woken up a little bit earlier. This one's giving itself a good scratch, moving those flight feathers. And you'll see they'll also often, like when they wake up in the mornings or just before flight, kind of defecate. Birds are so well designed for flight. I mean, their bones are hollow. Sorry, let me just turn the radio down. Their bones are hollow and they need to be incredibly lightweight to try and fly. And you'll see even just that small little weight of ones that they've lost after they defecate allows them to be a little bit lighter for maybe a quick getaway that they might need. And they also need all their feathers to be in the right alignment when needing to fly, so they'll kind of shuffle around, move around, make sure they're all ready before they fly, and then often defecate, lowering their weight before they have to quickly make an escape. So I wonder if there's not a third Bateleur in this tree, if that one at the bottom is a juvenile. It's a bit tricky to see the color, although I thought it was when I first saw it. So I wonder if there's not a partner to the one at the top, maybe in the tree as well. It's interesting. I mean, that juvenile, if it is a juvenile, will stick with the parents, and it takes about 6 years for it to get its full adult plumage, which is quite crazy. You don't think that birds live quite as long as they do, but for that juvenile to become an adult takes 6 years. I mean, these Bateleurs, although they can hunt, they do spend a lot of their time flying up in the sky looking for opportunities to scavenge. And that might be around a lion carcass. If they're very lucky, a leopard carcass. I mean, we were with leopards earlier this morning, but you don't very often see vultures and scavengers, like bird scavengers rather, on leopard carcasses, simply for the reason that they are so clever with how they hide their carcasses, whether it be in the grass and they'll try and cover the carcass with some grass, maybe underneath a thick bush, or even up into a tree. Often that tree's got a canopy, so the canopy will hide it, and birds of prey such as vultures, those main scavengers, they hunt exclusively by eyesight. So when they're flying right up in the sky, they're looking down into the bush, trying to see if they can find a carcass or any sign of a predator. They'll often find a predator and go down there and follow up on the predator, because the predator often reveals a carcass and some food. And if a leopard does have it up in the tree, hopefully the canopy of the tree conceals it. But then, let's say it's not in a tree without leaves, which is also very likely. Leopards aren't that fussy about their trees. They would like a perfect tree, but any opportunity to get a carcass off of the ground and out of the reach of hyenas, they will take. So maybe a vulture sees that carcass, then it tries to fly down, and it's very tricky for a big vulture. We were talking about how lightweight birds are designed to to allow them to be such good flyers. And a vulture is a big, heavy bird. For it to land in a canopy or into a tree and allow itself an escape route, a quick escape route, is very tricky. It needs at least a little bit of takeoff. And if there are leaves in the tree, it's very difficult. Even getting close to a leopard or a carcass from a leopard in a tree, that leopard's probably not too far away. And if it kind of quickly swats up, it might kill that vulture. Okay, I'm going to keep going along in this little riverbed, trying to see if I can see tracks of this female that cross out or cross over. That'll be our next best step in trying to find her and her cubs this morning.
Good luck finding some leopard tracks, Dan. We're also on the move. See if we can pick up on some tracks as we mission. It is still very fresh this morning, but as that sun gets higher, I feel the warmth will start to radiate. But for now, it's quite slow going, but a possibility for predators to still be moving in these temperatures. Birds are only just starting to make some calls. They've been very quiet this morning. The alarm clock might have gone off for them a few times, but they've just gone snooze. Too cold.
Good morning from a very chilly andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we've found a white-backed vulture that's busy soaking up the rays of the sunlight, or of the sun, just like us, trying to keep warm. Perched on a little dead tree. My name's Damon, behind the camera is Johan this morning, and we've come out into the open grasslands in search of a pride of lions. We managed to get a brief glimpse of one of the lionesses and two little cubs that were playing around in the cool of the morning. Unfortunately, though, they've gone into a very dense area where we can't drive off-road to follow them, so we're just waiting for them to come on out. I'm hoping that because it's still nice and cool and it's, not cool, it's cold is a better way to put it. Like, we've even got gloves on, it's so chilly. I'm hoping that they're going to be moving around and playing, so we're going to kind of circle that area where they disappeared in the hope that we eventually manage to see them. But for the meantime, have a look at this vulture. It's just perched on a relatively low or a relatively short tree. Obviously quite dead and very very sparse in terms of the twigs coming off of it, so the vulture's got pretty good room to take off if it needs to either flit away from danger, or a little bit later on, once the earth starts to warm up a little bit and there start to be some thermals rising off of the ground, take to the air and start soaring, searching for any signs of food. And this particular pride of lions that we are looking for this morning killed a wildebeest a couple of days ago. But before I get too much into that, Susan, you're asking if we normally find vultures alone or in groups. Susan, it can be either. We normally see big groups of vultures if there's a nice thermal that's rising and there's several vultures in the area. They'll normally all kind of fly together on those thermals. And then, of course, around on carcasses, there's often all the vultures come together, obviously, to come and feed on the carcass. But in between that, if there isn't food or if they're not riding on thermals, then it's not unusual to find them sitting singly. Although I don't think that this vulture is alone. I think just that tree only really has space for one vulture to perch. And like I said, this pride of lions that we're looking for killed a wildebeest 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. And it was quite a big wildebeest bull. And they would have eaten most of the meat. But I'm sure that because they seem to be not quite with the carcass, but in the similar area. And I'm sure that once the lions move away from it completely, those vultures will start to descend into the area. We did see vultures here the last time I was here, perched in the trees, waiting for the lions to move. So I'm sure there's one or two more perched on trees around. Just haven't managed to spot any just yet. But interestingly, Susan, just talking about how vultures, they can be either alone or in groups. I remember watching a little snippet from a vulture rehabilitation center, and they had this vulture that had been poisoned and they were trying to rehabilitate it, and they kept giving it meat, big chunks of meat, like it might feed off from a carcass, and the vulture couldn't eat these big chunks of meat, and they were puzzling as to why it was doing or what was going on, what was wrong with the vulture. And they figured out that they couldn't just give the vulture the chunk of meat. They had to weigh it down somehow, because when vultures feed on a carcass, obviously there's the weight of the animal's body that helps to anchor it and gives them, they've got something to pull against to help them rip the meat off of the carcass. And then there's also other vultures that, play tug of war with each other, and they help each other in their competition with each other, they basically help each other to pull chunks of meat apart and to pull chunks of meat off so that they can eat them. So this little vulture, well, not so little vulture, but this vulture that was being rehabilitated needed another vulture, or because they didn't have any other vultures, they eventually had to resort to using like a sock with a vulture. A sock that they had decorated to make it look like a vulture's head, and they had to hold onto the one end of the piece of meat and just to give that other vulture some leverage to pull off of, so that he could actually rip the meat apart. But we're going to leave this vulture and head back towards where those lions were last seen. Let's go across to Lauren at a Waterhole.
We've arrived at Gowrie Dam, and look how high this heron is sitting on the tree. It's not a vulture, it's a heron, but still. Now, there was reports of a leopard sawing on the dam cam, which is of course helpful, but that's about as helpful as it is. The tricky thing is, the dam cam microphone is so sensitive, it's so powerful that it actually picks up vocalizations from buffelshoek in winter, possibly not in summer. So now we've arrived here, we've got to sort of assess, look for tracks. Then you're going to get a sense of direction. I'm not sure if a direction has been provided. If you can't pick up on tracks and we don't hear it ourselves, we've been sitting here a few minutes now, we don't hear anything. Then we've got to look for possible alerted impala. We came up from twin dams and the impala are incredibly chill. They're all feeding and having a great time. So it's a bit of a long shot, but BK and I are going to keep moving for that reason. If a leopard is sawing, it's most likely on territorial patrol. What that means is most likely we'll be using roads. So if the leopard's mobile, then we should also be mobile. But it's tricky to know which direction to check in. My goodness, my lips are frozen as well as my fingers. It's starting to get a little bit warmer now, though. But yes, let us begin our search, and hopefully the leopard's not too far away. Lions are the ones that when the dam cam picks up that audio, my goodness, it can really pick up that audio from very, very far away. Doesn't mean the lions are always on Djuma. And the Talamatis went all the way, dipped into Chitwa, and now they're in Buffalo. That's how far lions can travel at night time. They haven't been found yet, but their tracks have been followed. Okay, no leopard tracks here. Lots of hyenas as usual. I'm just going to take the predictable routes that we sort of always see our leopards, and hopefully we might get lucky. If you hear the audio again, dam cameras, let us know. If you can pick out a direction, let us know. Whew. Hyena, fresh hyena, we know that because we saw them last night. Okay, let's keep moving. Every so often we'll turn our engine off. It's actually quite hard for us sometimes to hear with the engine on. The cameramen normally pick up the sounds because they hear through my microphone. They can hear the audio in their headset. So it's amplified, if you like. And they're normally pretty good at hearing things. So if anybody's on the dam cam, keep us updated. But for now, I'm going to start my leopard search.
Hello, my name is Marnie Kell from the Greater Toronto Area of Ontario, Canada. I am most excited to meet some of the guides that I feel I already know. And I'm going to very much enjoy riding along with them to see what they see most days while they're broadcasting these safaris to us, while also staying at the beautiful Simbambili Lodge. WildEarth has brought so much to my life, and I am thrilled and grateful to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and it could be you jetting off on an all-expenses-paid-for safari experience. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that. The connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls is next level. I am thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is calm of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oh!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hello, I'm Marna, your WildEarth safari guide from andBeyond Ngala. What I really like about connecting with WildEarth viewers is that we get to speak to viewers instantly, and I get to show you this beautiful property. If you want to ask me a question, register on the WildEarth website. Simply head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions there. Join me or one of the other guides twice a day on WildEarth.
Good morning, welcome back everybody. So, just kind of left that area of the leopard and I'm going to go and check a watering hole, allow that leopard some time to maybe either relax or settle down rather, not then relax, settle down or continue on their way so that I can maybe see some tracks on the road. And as I was going, there's a few buffalo bulls on the way. They've already started their mornings, all of their heads are down. There's quite a few of them in fact, to the left, still a bit more in the thicker bush. But these guys' heads are down, already feeding, using this time of the morning to get some feeding done, and then later, once it heats up a little bit, they might find a spot to kind of rest and ruminate. And these buffalo are what we call ruminants, and they have 4 stomachs, which they essentially pass food throughout the day. An incredibly effective digestive system, allowing this grass to get as much of the nutrients out of it as possible. Let's move back a little bit here, see if we can't have another good look at them. They have just gone by us behind the bushes. Let's reverse a little bit. There are a few more as well, which might allow us a good look at them. Aha, there's a few. That's it. You're right there, Oates. So a few of them all hanging out together. Some big bulls in there as well. I haven't seen any females. Yesterday we were with a great big buffalo herd very far away from here. So I don't think these males have had anything to do with that buffalo herd in the past few days. But if it did maybe come through, you would see a few of these bulls. I mean, they are quite social animals. They might just join up temporarily, kind of see what's happening within the dynamics of the herd, try and see if there might not be an opportunity to regain some power and strength within a herd. However, it doesn't look like these guys are all too worried about it. Normally you find older bulls in this kind of a situation, but these guys, this one that we're looking at, still got lots of hair and fur on its back. Alison, do buffalo shed their hair? The answer to the question is no, but you will find with age. So they might lose their hair. And they do a lot of scratching up on posts to kind of get rid of parasites and get an itch that they might not be able to reach with their horns. So in that way they can lose hair. And you'll find older buffalo kind of missing lots of hair. This guy that we're on at the moment has got quite a lot of hair on his body still, telling us that he's not an old or too old. He might be, I don't know, I'd guess maybe 10 years old, 10 to 12. And yeah, Alison, I mean, the hair on their backs is a good way to determine their age at some times. You'll also see when they get a bit older, their horns start to kind of wear down, and they've been doing lots of fighting and lots of kind of scratching on trees. Yesterday we saw them kind of rubbing their heads on trees. You'll see they often get little mites and things that go into the nooks and corners of their horns that they can't, and make them quite itchy, and they can't get to the scratch. So they'll use a tree, kind of eventually wear them down. These males have also got super big, thick skull. Like part of their skull extends above the top of their heads, and that's used to protect their brain when fighting. I mean, you can see even those horns are kind of like curling down and looping up, almost like a perfect hook to hook into something. You'll see lions, pretty much the only real predator against these buffalo, will try and bring them down, exhaust them But you've got to be very wary of the business end of this buffalo. Those horns, if you get too close to them, just one little movement down and then up will hook a lion into its side and toss it right up into the air. Okay, I'm going to continue on to our watering hole. And while I leave these buffalo, I'll send you over to Damon.
You're back with us here at andBeyond. Phinda and Hyena just pulled off an amazing spot of a secretary bird. And there it is there hunting through the grass. Through the beautiful golden light of morning. And look at how it's walking very slowly, looking at the ground constantly. Looking for insects, rodents, and even snakes. I think on a cold morning like today, though, the latter is very unlikely. I don't think there'll be too many snakes out in the open. There's our lilac-breasted roller calling behind us. He's just gone behind the bush for now. Oh, there we go, coming out the other side. See how it's kind of walking in a zigzagging fashion. Obviously trying to cover the maximum amount of ground that it can as it searches for food. And it's a bit tough to tell because of how long the grass is, but for those of you that haven't seen a secretary bird before, they've got exceptionally long legs. Hopefully it turns a bit left. Here it comes. Look at that. Nice. There you go. Nice. See those long legs. Almost like it's wearing black skin-tight three-quarter pants that come down to the joint of the leg. And then look at those quills in the back of its head. And again, a little bit tough to see because of how far away it is and because of how it's kind of walking away from us. It's got a beautiful orange skin around its face. Latawa, you're saying what a beautiful bird to see? Absolutely, Latawa, a very special bird. They're a bird that is under threat here in South Africa. Loss of habitat is quite a big problem for them, as it is for most animals. So very special to be able to see one. Oh, zigzagging again, just as we think we're about to lose it. It's being very obliging. Rather than going all the way left and out of sight, it's at least been kind of coming to the right a little bit to offer us a few more views of it. And then I was talking about those long legs that it's got. So if it does find something, we said it looks like it's hunting, it's looking down at the ground. If it does find something, it will, I mean, for a grasshopper or a locust, it'll probably just pick it up and swallow it. But something like a rodent or a snake or a lizard, if it's quite big, it will stamp on it with its feet to immobilize it. Triple X, you're asking why it's called a secretary bird. Triple X, there was a story that was started that said that they're named after the secretaries of the mid to late 1900s hairdos, those quills in their hair. But apparently, no, it comes from I think it's an Arabic word, and I'm probably going to get the pronunciation wrong, but it's something along the lines of Chitwa, which means hunting bird. And so secretary bird comes from that, apparently. But yeah, look at those quills on the back of its head. Very characteristic feature of the secretary bird. And we're talking about the stamping and how it will stamp on something like a rodent or a snake to immobilize it. There's a pretty intense video on the internet of, I think it's 2 secretary birds that found a baby scrub hare, a little leveret. And yeah, they were able to catch and kill it by stamping on it. Not for the faint of heart. There we go. Heading off down into the grass on the other side. Really good spot, Johan. And how awesome to have got to spend a bit of time with the secretary bird while it's out and about hunting. We're going to leave it and we're going to carry on to see if we can't find where those lions have gone.
We're on the search for a leopard once again. Our little property really is leopard haven. That's our unique sort of selling point, if you like. Djuma is all about the leopards. But leopard sawing, that vocalization that they make, they don't roar, they saw, has been reported on our Dan cam. But the Dan cam microphone, can hear for miles. So that's sort of the tricky part we have to figure out. It also doesn't determine direction. So we're going to keep moving because time is of the essence. But as I drive so slowly, BK is going to give you a beautiful view of the dam that we're driving past, Gowrie Dam, where our dam cam sits. The dam cam. If you ever tune in, this is a dam that you're looking at. And it's beautiful. But if we stop for everything, then we're not going to be able to find this leopard, and that's a tricky thing. It could be absolutely miles away, and I'm really not joking when I say that. Winters, the air is so cold, that means sound sort of travels in a different way, and it makes the audio that you're hearing seem a lot closer than it actually is. Almost like an illusion. Okay, beaks, I'm about to go down this bump. Are you ready? Give it some oomph. There you go, that was a lot of oomph. So what you've got to do when there's reports of audio is also try and listen to the audio yourself until you can actually determine direction. It's really, really difficult. Then look for tracks. If you don't see any tracks, look at the animals around you. Is anyone upset? Is anyone startled? Is anyone alarming? So that's what stage we're at now. I really hope we get lucky this morning. I would like to see a leopard.
Welcome back, everybody. I've just kind of driven up towards this watering hole. What a lovely morning, nice and still. Also kind of like glass, not much wind. It's also a good spot for Odie and I to thaw out a little bit this morning. The sun is feeling very nice on us. And you can see it's kind of just shedding its rays along the watering hole here as well. I was really hoping to see maybe something having the same kind of idea as us, maybe on the banks here. It's nice and open, so there's nothing kind of blocking your view of the sun. And it's beautiful this time of the morning. Lots of little birds will be starting their day. A couple of oxpeckers that have just flown out of one of the trees. Some spur fowls and franklins will come down and have a little drink in the morning. Hornbills as well. I mean, sometimes herds of elephants would have come here during the evening and kind of have a little drink, and they'll disturb a lot of the grass seeds. That will provide food to all sorts of other birds during the day. Insects and things will start to be moving around now as well. The oxpeckers that flew out of the tree, there is one lonely hippo that's still in this watering hole. I think it's a bull who's been licking his wounds for some time now. Haven't seen any obvious wounds, just a bit of a metaphor to him losing a fight. But oxpeckers went to go and try and land on his head, maybe try and clean some parasites off. Maybe there is a wound, in fact. I mean, the oxpeckers that feed off of the parasites and the ticks on the backs of animals are actually vampiric. So they are feeding off of the blood within the ticks. And you'll see that can be an aid to lots of animals when they are covered in parasites and ticks, and the oxpeckers will be working together with the animal in kind of like a mutually beneficial role by cleaning the parasites off of the animal and then getting a meal at the same time. But it's not always. Oxpeckers can also often be parasitic to these bigger herbivores like hippos and buffalo and rhino and giraffe, impala. For instance, if they get a cut or a wound or a small infection somewhere, those oxpeckers will come and fly onto their backs and they will peck at that wound, keeping it open, feeding off of the fresh blood. And that'll often keep wounds open for months rather than weeks because the oxpeckers are constantly hammering at it. And I mean, that's the benefit of having something like a tail. These animals, I don't know if you've watched zebra anytime recently, their tails are almost permanently going, keep flies and things away, maybe from a cut or just away from their skin. But it'll also be to keep an oxpecker away from maybe a wound. And often wounds are on the backsides or the rumps of these animals. We just came past those buffalo. I mean, lions will try and take down buffalo from the behind first. And one of the reasons is to really avoid those horns in the front. And they'll bring it down and exhaust the animal before going anywhere near the horns, kind of trying to prevent an injury. And that's, I mean, the benefit of that tail being so close to the behind. That's often where the cuts and the wounds are. Not to say that a cut or a wound will always come from a predator. You'll see during the rutting season, the impalas, who also are frequented by oxpeckers, they are fighting so constantly, the males, that haven't often, but I've seen like broken horns, and a horn is solid bone underneath. So when it breaks, there's blood and there's nerve endings there that kind of bleeds out. And also I've seen impala before with a broken off horn inside their neck from another impala. So that's kind of a double blow. One of the impalas has lost one of the horns, very painful break, and then the other one has got it impaled into its neck, and that's something that the oxpeckers will look for. And that's also why at that time of the year you find so many carcasses around being male impalas, because they are so distracted by kind of fighting and fending each other off, chasing females around, not really worrying so much about feeding. They've got one thing on their mind. I mean, it's a bit easier for this hippo who's just popped his head down under the water, so I don't know where he's going to come up again. But to get rid of the oxpeckers, I mean, he will also kind of lie out of the water at some points. Particularly on a cooler day, you might see hippos basking in the sun on the banks of a watering hole like this. That'll allow the oxpeckers to come in and have a good, thorough clean. But if he's in the water, all he has to do is just submerge himself. You'll see that when hippos do submerge themselves, they'll close their ears. So that's kind of one of the only entry points really that water will get in. And as they come up, they always flick their ears. White mane, is this watering hole rain-fed or artificially fed? This is exclusively rainwater that fills this watering hole up. Here at Ngala, actually, we have very few watering kind of like artificial points. We've got one or two that are kind of pumping small little pans, like almost like a fire pit size, just to keep some of the general game in some of the areas going during the harshest of winters. Otherwise, we exclusively rely on rain to keep our watering holes full, and in the dry season, that means they dry up. And you'll see this kind of area is actually an area with very little natural water around, and because of that, we used to have an abundance of animals like sable and rowan, which are incredibly rare animals to see in the Kruger Park, or anywhere in the world, but the Kruger Park as well. And they used to be so abundant around this area that they even used to shoot them for rations many years ago. Now, since the kind of implementation and the building of bigger watering holes, that's kind of attracted your more water-dependent animals to move into these kind of areas. That includes your impalas and zebras and wildebeest and predators like lions and leopards, and they kind of all go together. So sable and rowan, they're not water-dependent animals. They actually don't rely on water every day to drink, and they also rely on like longer grass to hide their young. So, sorry, Odie's just bringing my attention towards something. Oh, a little golden-breasted bunting coming down. How's the colour and how's the reflection of that? A little ring-necked dove or Cape turtle dove drinking closer to us. Beautiful golden reflection in the water there. looks like it's got a bit of protection with that log in front of it as well. I mean, it is very shallow there, but a croc might, if it was lying right there, I mean, that log somewhat looks like a croc might, but that's obviously not, and that bird would have known if that was a crocodile, but would kind of lie and wait for even a small bird like that to get too close, and if it did, it would kind of snap it up. Great spot, Odie. So as I was saying about the sable and the roan relying on long grass, once you build watering holes, that kind of brings in these water-dependent animals which feed on the grass, and it also brings in far more predators like your lions and leopards who are feeding on the impalas who are depending on the water. Lions and leopards also depend on the water pretty much every day or from time to time to drink. So that then lowers the level of the grass, not providing a good hiding spot for the sable and the roan's young. And then with the abundance of predators, they just kind of eat all the young when they're trying to hide them. And that's why they don't really occur in these areas anymore. You still see them from time to time in certain parts in the Kruger. Really good sighting to have if you have seen them before. Beautiful animals. You'll also see like water being artificially pumped into some of these areas has an impact on animals like elephants. So elephants have very few natural predators. I guess one could say lions are a natural predator of elephants. But okay, I might have to touch on this conversation at another time. In the meantime, I'll send you over to Damon at Phinda.
You're back with Johanna and I at andBeyond Phinda. We've just arrived at the spot where those lions had killed that wildebeest 3 nights ago. There's no sign of the lions here, but there is this pied crow. Look at that, sitting up in the tree there. And as we got here, it was on the ground, hopping around where I think the last remains of the wildebeest are. I can't quite see the carcass from here, the grass is a bit long. But I think the crow was most likely feeding on the last little bits of scraps left on the wildebeest carcass. Looking around in the big trees around us, there don't appear to be any vultures. So I think the lions have probably moved off of this kill a little while ago, leaving it open for scavenging birds to come and feed on. Listen to it calling. I don't know if you can hear, so this one's obviously calling, but then there's one also calling off to the right, and that's, I'm pretty sure, where the carcass is. Yeah, so no doubt picking off the last little bits of flesh from the bones of that wildebeest. Have a look at that long, when it turns its head sideways, so look at that long, thin bill. And just imagine how it would use that to get in between the bones, into all different nooks and crannies of the carcass where the lions with their much bigger mouths wouldn't have been able to get to. There he goes, flying back, no doubt going back towards the carcass. Let's see if it lands. Flying in very slowly. And landing right over there. So that must surely be where... Oh, a third one coming in. About to land in the tree in front of us. Megan, you're saying pied crows look like they're wearing little jackets. They do. They look like they're wearing those puffer jackets, those sleeveless puffer jackets. Ooh, this one's making a rather unusual noise. Might be a bit tough for you to hear, but it's a very low kind of purring sound. Can you hear that? I'm going to keep quiet for a sec. That stopped it now. It's making a very low purring noise. It goes also heading, no doubt, towards where that carcass is. Now, of course, there won't just be flesh or leftover bits of meat there on that carcass, but there'll also be potentially all different kinds of invertebrates that have moved in to help kind of break down the last little bits of tissue on that wildebeest. Beetles and, of course, flies and maggots. And those crows will be feeding on those things as well, as gross as that sounds. We often speak about vultures and crows and hyenas and all different types of animals that scavenge and how important they are in terms of keeping the bush clear of rotting corpses, but we very seldom pay much attention and give much thanks to things like maggots and carrion beetles, because they play an equally important role in the breaking down of bodies of animals. But yeah, no view of those crows now. Johan and I have been scanning that thicket with binoculars, and unfortunately we haven't managed to get a glimpse of those lions. So I think that they're still in there somewhere. We were just remarking about how there's so many beautiful patches of lovely sunshine where these lions could come and rest and lie down and warm up in the sun, but they obviously have other ideas. So we're going to stick around the area for a little bit more, see if the lions don't come out, and if no luck with that, we're going to try and move out the area, see if we can't find something else for you.
Suspended above Kenya's Masai Mara is a breathtaking lodge where unrivaled service goes hand in hand with extraordinary wildlife sightings. Ngala Mara offers a quiet place where guests have the opportunity to reconnect with the world again. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer before the end of July, and you and a friend could win a 3-night stay at this award-winning lodge. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature. The importance of forests cannot be underestimated. Over 1 billion people live in and around forests, depending on them for fuel, food, medicine, and building materials. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, is the national implementer for a program called LEAF. The LEAF program makes use of indigenous forests grown on school properties to teach pupils about biodiversity. This directly instills a sense of ownership of the natural surroundings and reconnects children with our biomes and heritage. WESA needs your help to bring nature back to schools. Ask your school to join the program through the link on their website. Together with WESA, you can help take this incredible program to schools across the country.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
Well, We're still at Chitwa. We haven't found much. We've found lots of tracks for Marips all over the place. In fact, where I'm sitting right now, there's tracks for him going up and down, but no sign of him as yet. So just spending time with the hippos for now and just listening and hoping that an alarm call pops up. His tracks are all over this open clearing. So I'm sure he's not far. He's just probably milling about like he does, and we'll pick him up eventually. It's difficult because a lot of the guys have driven all over the place this morning and haven't really looked nicely, and so there's tracks going in different directions and they've been driven over and found like fresh, from this morning tracks yet. Hey guys. One nice thing that we've been seeing at this dam, there's been Rose eagle owls calling, there's been fish eagle calling, lots of predatory birds calling from the dam itself. And of course the hippos making noise as well. It's a nice little spot this. The hippos come quite close here, so you can see them really nicely and kind of get nice close-ups of them. A lot of the dams that we have, the hippos are often further away, so not as easy to kind of get the details of them. But with this dam, it's when they lie exactly where they are now, then it works nicely for hippo viewing. Still can't believe though that this dam was as low as it was. When was it? 2018? Was it 2018, David? 2019, when the dam was so low. I think it was 2019 maybe. The water, so where these hippos are now, was dry. There's a fallen tree at the back there. The water was beyond that fallen tree, the edge of the water, which is a good, what is that, 30 meters, 40 meters? From where we are right now. And the water edge was beyond that tree even. So this dam was much lower than it is now. And that was interesting because, and funny enough, wasn't even that low during the 2016 drought. It's just, it was a compound effect of the drought and then a couple years of poor rainfall that ended up in the dam sort of diminishing the way that it did. So hippos agree that was the case. There's a crocodile, David. Do you see it?
No way.
Drifting across the dam. In the middle there. That's our 1 o'clock right now. You've got it. Oh, wonderful. Don't know which croc it is just yet. It's difficult to tell when they're cruising through the water like that. Eerie, though, when you see them just slinking along. It's almost like effortless, the way they just glide. I'm pretty sure that croc is coming to this little island that there is at Chitwa. It loves to sit on the island and just absorb some sunshine, and after a start like we had this morning with the temperature, I'm pretty sure that crocodile's metabolic rate is so low that it needs all the sunshine it can get. So I'm pretty sure it's going to get onto that bank and just bake away for most of the day, trying to get its body temperature back up and running again, much like we are doing. So part of the nice thing about sitting with these hippos and crocs and just listening out is that we get a chance to also bake in the sun and warm up. Isn't that right, David?
Oh, yeah.
Are you feeling better than you were a little bit earlier? Slowly. It was quite cold here this morning, wasn't it? So trying to see if there's any cool birds around. I wonder where the night herons are. Maybe they're on the other side of the dam again. Have you seen the night herons, David?
No.
No. Or maybe I shall endeavour to try and find them for you.
Very good.
Wonderful. We did briefly have 2 hyenas that walked past us with very fat tummies. And so we'll try and kind of see where they maybe went to. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Lauren.
Now, this is actually a great find. We can't get any closer. As soon as I move a little bit more west, we lose signal, which is rather unfortunate. But this is a juvenile Bateleur. but a much older one in terms of stages of development than Bateleur. You can really see this as a Bateleur, and you can also identify the sex. This one's female, still a juvenile, still absolutely immature, but you can see just ever so clearly that band of silver on the primary flight feathers at the bottom there that tail off to black. That shows immediately it's a female. We got asked yesterday about, do we really know this is Bateleur? And it definitely was. I mean, we've been following her, but unless you can pick out key identification features, it's very difficult. But this is another juvenile Bateleur. We're almost at Sandy Patch. So it's definitely not Bateleur, and doesn't actually look anything like her. It's much, much older. And you can start to see the sex now, that grey band. I'm starting to wonder if Bateleur maybe is a boy. But we won't know that just yet. Naturally, when Bateleur's plumage starts to change, you can really identify the sexes, which is great for us. I like to know looking at a male or a female. Makes a lot more sense in my head. Oh, it's so lovely. With each molt, Bateleurs really do change. And it's just amazing to look at the progress. You can see it online and the stages they go through in terms of their plumage and the coloration until they reach that adult plumage that we all recognize so well. Now, for those of you that do know the area, I checked Galago shortcut around Galago Pan, not a single track. We did Quarantine, not a single track. We did Central, not a single track. For Leopards, I'm talking about, there definitely are other tracks. And we're now on Buffelshood Cut Line. Nothing. We came up to Ndam's Road, nothing. So that's sort of all the roads in the immediate vicinity. So the Leopard's obviously further away than we anticipated or hoped. But we'll still keep scratching around. I love it when, I don't know if you can see this very well because I think we're at the very end of the lines, aren't we, Beaks? But if we go any closer, our signal would just completely drop. When the wind blows and the feathers all separate, and you can see that white bald head. It's very cute. It was so lovely catching up with Bateleur yesterday, it really was. Another great story, success story so far. Okay, we're going to plough through this tricky signal patch and continue searching for our mystery leopard. But for now, over to Tristan.
Well, good luck, Lauren, on your search for a leopard, and I hope that you negotiate your signal with much ease and grace. We've had a lot of signal issues this morning too. We're only allowed to stay away at Chitwa for now, but apparently everything's being sorted, so we'll get up and running shortly. But yeah, nothing really further. I haven't heard any other kind of sounds coming from Chitwa itself. The only other updates from this section is Kuchava going into Cheetah Plains from Nkoro side. Still looking as though she's got cubs. They just don't know where yet. And so she's around. What else was there, David? There was two different lots of kudu alarm calling. One at Cheetah Plains camp, and the other one just south of the Chitwa boundary in a Nets vessels. We went and checked around there, but no tracks coming north onto Chitwa. And that's it. It's otherwise fairly quiet here this morning, which makes a change. Chitwa's been so bustly and busy of late that it's strange when it's quiet, but nice at the same time. It's been a lovely morning, just kind of chilling around the dam and just arbly bumbling about. I don't know how these lapwings are bathing right now. There's some blacksmith lapwings that I saw going in the water. It's so cold. Why would you do that, little birdie? Just wait until it gets warmer. I wouldn't want to be in this water now. It looks cold. I don't know why it does, but it does. Maybe it's not as bad as I think it is because it's such a large body of water. I suppose it should maintain its warmth pretty well. So funny, they're responding to the hippos that are calling from a dam quite far to the south on a net, close to Jackie's Sabi house. They're obviously calling from that side, and these guys are responding to them. Awesome to be this close when they call like that, though. It's that iconic sound of Africa when they make that noise. All right, David. I think, should we meander on? Onwards and forwards. Let's go up and just check towards Rombi again, which is the name of the road to our north at the moment. Just go and see what is what. Maybe little Marips has decided to show himself or walk that area since we were last up there. I feel like he's somewhere on this clearing. We just haven't found him yet. He's like probably curled up in a little ball in the sunshine, enjoying some sun. And only once it gets a bit warmer is he going to start to actually move around. Alrighty, I'm going to head up the road here. Let's go see what is happening. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Damon and Phinda.
Well, that sounded amazing at that waterhole there with Tristan. We are still having a little bit of trouble here with trying to find these lions. I think that they haven't come out of that thicket. They're probably lying down there. So Johan and I are making our way out of the area to go and try and look for, apparently one of the other vehicles in the area found tracks of a single lioness heading away from this area. So we're going to go see if we can find those tracks. But something caught my eye as we were driving past this bush. And have a look in there. Can you see the two lilac-breasted rollers? Beautiful colors. Lovely blue rumps and the turquoise head. And that lilac, pinkish kind of throat and face. Super colorful. Look at how puffed up they are. Just to give you an idea of how cold it is. They're sitting in the sun on the downwind side of that thicket. The wind is blowing from the other side of that bush towards us. They're sitting facing, and yeah, luckily the wind is kind of coming from the west, from the northwest. So luckily for these rollers, they can sit on the sunnier side of the bush and be on the downwind side of the bush. So stay nice and warm. And of course, those feathers being fluffed up like that, I suppose, quite similar to us getting goosebumps when you get out of a hot shower into a cold room. How your hairs stand up on your body to try and trap the air against your skin and warm you up, and that's exactly what these feathers are doing for these rollers. More than likely a male and female pair sitting close together. We're not very far from where we saw that secretary bird earlier, and remember while we were watching it we heard the roller calling. More than likely one of these two. Johan and I have just been talking about how cold we are being relatively large mammals, and of course we haven't really got very much hair to cover our bodies, humans in general. So we have to wear protective clothing to keep us nice and warm, nice thick jackets. But then while we've been driving around through these grasslands, we've been seeing all kinds of little birds, African stone chats that have migrated down from the high veld, from the escarpment, come down the escarpment rather to the lower lying areas to try and find some warmth for winter. But then even little resident birds like zitting cisticulars, tiny little birds. And it's incredible to think that they're able to keep warm and stay alive in these freezing cold conditions. Obviously their bodies just well adapted to that. Michelle, you're saying it's your first time seeing a lilac-breasted roller. Michelle, I'm super excited to hear that, because that's, yeah, to see a lilac-breasted roller for the first time, that's something really special. There are a few birds that have quite the array of colors that a lilac-breasted roller does. So I'm excited that we were able to show you your first one. It's not a bird that we see too commonly here at andBeyond Phinda. They are restricted to the more or the larger grasslands of our reserve. They tend to be much more common up in the low veld around Djuma and Ngala and Pridelands. Not as common down here. But yeah, they're probably going to sit in the sun for quite a bit longer to warm up, and then they'll head on out to start foraging for insects. So just having a look at that roller on the left, that lilac-breasted roller, lilac-breasted roller. It's a little bit cold. Try and say lilac-breasted roller fast when your tongue is uncooperative because of the cold, chilly wind. Have a look at the one on the left there. Look at how it's starting to look around and it's kind of scanning from left to right. Still very puffed up, but I'm sure from that little vantage point that they've got, they'll be able to scan the ground pretty well to search for little insects to eat. And that's normally how these rollers will hunt, is they'll hunt from a perch. They'll use their sharp eyes to scan for grasshoppers or crickets or other kinds of insects that might be moving around in the grass. And then if they spot one, they'll swoop down and grab it and probably fly back up onto their perch to then eat it. And these rollers, I'm not sure how many of you have seen some of the other kinds of rollers that we get here in southern Africa. With it being winter time, this is the only one that we rarely see in this part of the world. I have seen the odd purple roller here at andBeyond Phinda. It's another resident roller species. But then, come summertime, later on in the year, when the temperatures are nice and warm again, we'll start to see the migratory rollers coming back. The broad-billed roller, the intra-Africa migrant, come from further north in Africa, and then the European roller from Europe and Asia. That will also start to arrive here come the summer months. But I think Johanna and I are going to leave these rollers. We're going to do one last little sweep, see if we can find the lions, and then move out.
Welcome back, everybody. So I'm just currently back on the search for this leopard and her cubs. Kind of come back to where we last saw them this morning. It seemed like giving them enough time to either make up their mind as they're going to be. Sorry, just let me check that thing. Is that better, Odie? Cool. So giving them enough time to kind of either settle down in the area where we last saw them or carry on moving in the direction that they were going. Just making sure they haven't crossed back, driving on the road very slowly, just trying to see if I can see any tracks that maybe cross back over to where they've come from, back towards the river. The river's on our right-hand side, just over here, and that's where they've been spending most of their time. The leopard cubs would have been born in the river there. I mean, the banks are super high. There's lots of little rocky outposts that you can hide a little leopard cub. Even like a root system of the trees, you can hide a little leopard cub. Also, hunting for the mother is somewhat easier around the riverbed. I mean, the game density is quite high, particularly of those smaller animals like duikers, maybe a Ngala, bushbuck. Even some klipspringer have been seen recently around the riverbed in those rocky sections. That would be perfect kind of hunting for the mother. Small enough animal that you can quite easily take it up into a tree and have the carcass stored there for the young ones. So now I'm just going to take a left here. The river is just to our right. And just another loop around this block, checking that she hasn't come out. And the tracks will tell me that. It did kind of suggest this morning how she fetched her cubs that she would be taking them to maybe another carcass. But that's the only way we're going to know is if we find this leopard and or the carcass. You'll see this kind of little drainage line I'm about to turn into. She has frequented it over the past few years, and it's like an area. Drainage line is a perfect place for leopards to hunt. You can kind of walk quite freely and easily, and you just pop up onto the bank, have a good look around, back into the drainage line, walk up, kind of being as undetected as they can be. So I'm also just taking it slowly, allowing Odie and myself a good opportunity to scan. Just saw a track there. I wonder if it wasn't a hyena track maybe. Just always worth a double check. Yeah, a couple of hyena tracks. This morning, even when we were following the leopards and we lost them for the first time, a hyena kind of stopped. Oh, there's a giraffe. Let's see if Odie can get this giraffe. It's pretty well hidden in the bush. You think we should try forward here, Odes, or back? Can you see it? It's there. I thought it might be a bit tricky, particularly through the branches of the trees. Let's see if I can move back slightly, maybe forward. You reckon forward, Odes? Yeah. Let's try forward. Slowly through here, you might get a glimpse of him. Let's see if there's a gap here, Odes. There's a good gap. Can you see it? There's actually two of them. Can you see there, Odes? Yeah. Cool, so there's one. Just to the left of it is the one that I initially saw. And now that you stop and listen, you can hear a whole lot of oxpeckers flying around those giraffe. I can't see them just yet. But the oxpeckers are kind of just visiting those giraffe. Oh, is that giraffe running? No, it's just walking. Don't know if you all heard those birds. It's like that. That's that oxpecker's noise. And it's one of the first calls that you need to learn out here in the bush. How many giraffe was lost by lightning strikes? It's a tricky... Hey. The giraffe. Let me try and see if I can move a little bit again. How many giraffe are lost by lightning strikes? I'm afraid I don't have the exact answer, and it'll change from region to region. For instance, here we do have electrical storms from time to time, but not all the time. And then you've got to really be in the wrong place at the wrong time, whether you're a giraffe or not. Okay, those giraffes seem to have moved into a bit of a different position. But in an area like Phinda, quite open in many areas. I've seen far more giraffe being struck by lightning in and around Phinda. Here, I don't think I've ever seen a giraffe get struck by lightning. Not to say that it hasn't or it won't happen. So an exact answer to the question, I'm afraid I don't have. But yes, it's possible, and it does happen from time to time that giraffe gets struck by lightning. So kind of just turned into this riverbed. Beautiful little spot. It's kind of a jackalberry over here. Perfect spot for a leopard to hoist a carcass. Remember yesterday she had that carcass in the same species of tree. So just carefully have a look around. There are a couple of squirrels and things running around in the tree. A little bit tricky. They're staying warm and trying to get their days going as well. Okay, so I'm going to keep going in this drainage line, having a good look in some of these bigger trees and in the long grass on the sides. And while I'm doing that, I'll send you over to Tristan.
Well, while Dan is looking around, I'm just checking on a whole bunch of tracks. Some of them look like they've been driven over, some don't. So I'm just checking to see what happens with them, because it looks like one car is definitely driven over these tracks. But there's a female leopard track here and a male leopard track going up this road. I wonder if maybe Tundi didn't come and get Marips and they have a kill somewhere. It's definitely one car that's driven here. Hello Nyalas. Have you guys seen a leopard today? Have you? Maybe not. I think they're probably asking us the same thing. Such beautiful animals, these. Beautiful, but at the same time a bit of an ecological mess up, because they shouldn't actually be here, these guys. They should be in northern Kruger and Zululand. There's a lot of suspicion that some of these were placed here, and since then their numbers have exploded, and with that explosion has meant that the bushbuck numbers are declining quite rapidly at the moment. You know, we see a lot more nyala than we do bushbuck in this part of the world, and it never used to be like that in the sort of early 2000s or 90s, 2000s. Even the sort of like 2010, it was the other way around, more bushbuck than nyala, but it certainly has. You hear those Franklins, David? Let's go investigate those quickly. Hold on. Sorry, Nyala, I know you're pretty, but I want to go investigate because the Franklins are still calling and they've got their little alarm sort of sound that they make. Yeah, now a squirrel as well. There's a problem with a beanie at this time of the day. Well, when you're having alarm calls, you can't hear nicely. Squirrels gone quiet. Franklins have gone quiet. Alright, I'm just going to scratch around here and just see. There's trucks, there's squirrels alarm calling, there's Franklins. Maybe we'll get lucky and find one of these cats moving around here.
there everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide and most importantly the questions that you ask give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feeds.
No further sounds coming from this area, so I don't know, maybe it was just a bird of prey passing overhead that triggered everybody. I didn't see anything, but it's possible that that's what it was. Just trying to look here and see what's going on with the tracks as well. There's definitely tracks coming through here, but one car has driven over these, but I don't see any footprints of them actually tracking it, so I don't know if they missed them or if they didn't have their track on the vehicle, or not sure. Yeah, there's impalas. Tracks are still going. Fortunately heading to where we're going to lose signal soon. So I'm not going to actually be able to follow them, I don't think, all the way. Still heading on the road. It could also be Mulawati and Tandi together, it's possible. Maybe it could even be Asha. Semba. They've all been around lately. Just trying to scan a lot of the trees and things here, just in case there's a kill that's up a tree. Sometimes when you get tracks for two different individuals together, I mean, especially in the case of Tandi, we know that she often has food. Both of them here, female and male. But somebody has tracked these. I can see footprints on them now. So, don't know who it is or where they ended up going, but somebody has been walking on these tracks. Alright, so we're going to carry on with this, see what we get. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Dan. It sounds like he's got evidence of leopards near to where he is too.
Okay, everybody, well, welcome back. So, driving in this riverbed, we're still following the tracks of the leopard. Kind of see this disturbance here. Walking in this left track, the right-hand track is completely undisturbed, and I have driven here this morning. Walk, 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 walk. And then over here is a very fresh scat, what we call scat, is a predator. This leopard would walk down this drainage line just behind us this morning, going the way that we're facing. Kind of turned around here, you can see her track standing here, defecates there, continues walking in the middle of the track. Keeps going, keeps going. She cuts back in here over here, and see her tracks going doom, doom, across here. Now she's walking on this side. Let's try and see exactly where she goes. It's an awesome place to kind of see the tracks in the sand, and it's kind of on top of all these nocturnal animals from last night. She's walked here. And again. Gonna do a little loop around here. Don't see any tracks. Looks like she's cut up here. Yeah, the tracks are here. She kind of cuts up this game path here. So I'm going to keep going in the riverbed. There's a chance that she kind of comes up from there back down, but it suggests once again that she's going back towards the road that I've just driven. She's just ahead of us, this leopard. Let's see if we can't catch up. I'm going to try and go around that scat that we saw there. It'll smell pretty bad on my tires. And yeah, I mean, it's got an important role to play as well. I heard Damon talking about scavengers playing quite an important role to play in this ecosystem, and insects and maggots and things. Leopard scat like that. So already a few flies on it. Even a hyena will walk through here. Remember we saw that leopard yesterday on a carcass? She had a very full tummy, and her scat is incredibly rich in protein still. So a hyena comes through there, maybe smells it, and they'll actually eat it, or a hooded vulture will come down. You'll see also a leopard scat's got quite a lot of hair and fur and fluff from the prey that they eat. You'll see them also like picking hair and fur off of, yesterday was an impala that was up in the tree, like pull all the fur off to get to the meat. They're actually very careful eaters, but they still get quite a lot of hair and fur into their gut when they are eating. So I'm just trying to keep as close a look at the track as I can, just to see if those tracks don't pop back up on the road. And there weren't any youngsters or cubs walking with this female. Wonder if she maybe just cut back into this riverbed. For what reason, I'm not 100% sure. Just, hold on, there she is. There she is. There she is. She's walking up ahead in the road there. And there's cubs with her as well. Have a look. Can you see them, Odie? Let me just stop for a moment. Get Odie. So they are quite far ahead of us, but it's amazing. We were literally right behind them. You got them, Odes? Okay. Fantastic. Let's see if we can get a bit closer. And I can see both the cubs walking with them as well. Oh, this is exciting. Yeah, maybe the cubs were on the other side. This is exciting. I wonder if she's not taking us straight back to a new carcass that she's found. Let me stop here as well. It's a beautiful view down the riverbed. So now she's turning around, having a look at us. See the little cub on the right watching us. There's a second one just to the left of the female. There she goes. Look at those two little cubs. Dark, hey? Dark and tiny. Just trotting and following the female. What an amazing sighting. Look how curious they are. I wonder if the cubs didn't hear something. Oh! Maybe the other one's going to chase the other one. You'll see them kind of stalking one another. Oh, there we go. While Mom's working so hard, she's got a clear plan in mind, maybe taking them towards another carcass, stopping and being very careful. You see how she stopped, looking to the right, making sure that there's no direct danger to her cubs. And the little one's just following Mom, each step along the way. Sometimes taking time to play, maybe with Mom's tail. How amazing. What a good mother, eh? Get both these cubs to this age already. And I just love how careful and cautious she is. She can never be too careful. I wonder what it is that's got her attention. Is she going to cut out the riverbed here? Remember we saw the mom's scat in the road up ahead or behind us. It looked like that little one went to the toilet there as well, right in the track, just like Mom did this morning. Okay, I'm going to use this time to kind of sneak up to them again. But how amazing is that? Kind of been tracking them for the past 2 hours or so, managed to find them. Doesn't always work out like that, but when it does, it really is a huge reward and really is amazing. There's an amazing Ngala tree coming up on the left. It would be amazing. I've checked it twice this morning already to see if there's maybe a carcass hanging in it. But it would be amazing if there is one close by that she might hoist a bit later. It's one of my favorite trees on the property. It is just on our left, but I'm going to keep going because if these cubs and the mother cross out of the drainage line, it's going to be very difficult for me to follow up. So I need to make sure I know exactly where it is that they cross out. Nope, they're all still in the riverbed there. Off on some rocks. Let me see if I can get a bit closer. A beautiful little rocky section here. One of them maybe hop up on the rock. The lighting is stunning. Can have an amazing view of them. They look like they're playing up ahead. Also be careful to keep my distance. The cubs are still very young. I do not want to put any kind of pressure on them whatsoever. I don't want to influence their behavior. I don't know how much of this. I'm going to just go over this very slowly here. Oh, they are beautiful. Let's just... Oh, it only wants to move a little bit forward. Oh, how's the lighting there? Look at the two of them just walking. One in front of Mom, one behind Mom. Mom needs to get ahead. She needs to lead the way. That one. Look how full their bellies are still from yesterday. And cautious. Remember, Mom stopped earlier, had a good look around. You see how that one just stopped and watched us? Mom's stride is much bigger than the little ones. You see how quickly they had to trot to catch up? Okay, let's keep going. There's a bit of this rocky section that they were on earlier. I'm going to take very slowly. I mean, there's not many other vehicles that'll be able to take you over this kind of area. So I'm going to do it very carefully, although this is a pretty powerful Toyota Land Cruiser. It might... See, everything's just moving along. Do it very slowly. Perfect. Okay, so give me a moment to kind of turn this corner here. What an amazing little track and find. And what an amazing sighting. Don't go too far. It'll be very interesting to see where this leopard and her cubs are going.
Well, best of luck, Dan, with sticking with that leopard and her two little ones. Johan and I have made our way to a very large and very beautiful waterhole, and it's surrounded by the most majestic yellow fever trees, and up in the top of the one is this juvenile Bateleur that you can see on your screen. A little bit like those rollers we saw earlier, or rather more similar to the vulture we saw earlier, just perched up there, resting and waiting for some better conditions for it to fly. Just looking at the color of this Bateleur, see how it's very light brown in color. It tells us that it's a juvenile, and a relatively young juvenile at that. For those of you that have seen Bateleurs before, I'll just get the bird book out so that I can show you real quick once we've kind of zoomed out so you guys can see just how pretty this waterhole is that we're looking over. The lovely mountains in the background. Just have a look at that scene. It's all so still. Suddenly the wind has dropped a little bit. Oh, and for the first time this morning we can really feel the warmth of the sun. And it's very, very, very welcome. It just seems also, I don't know if you can hear how relatively quiet it is in the background. There's not too much in the way of bird song. It's almost as if all the birds are just relieved to finally have a bit of warmth to try and warm up a bit after this super cold morning. Johanna and I are sitting with this lovely young Bateleur at this gorgeous waterhole with all these big yellow fever trees. And if we zoom in, see if you can spot the Bateleur up in the top left of that big fever tree. Have a look at its coloration. See how it's a very light brown color. That tells us that it's a juvenile, quite a young juvenile at that. I wonder, have any of you seen, I'm sure many of you would have seen an adult Bateleur before, with its lovely red face and the red tail, and then the rich black body and the white on the underside of the wings. And this juvenile, a lot duller by comparison. And some of you may have even seen and what, I've just got the bird book here to show you kind of the difference. So see, there's the adult there with that lovely red face, and then, like I said, the black body, the white on the underside of the wings, and then on the left hand side, just over here, see, there's the immature or the juvenile Bateleur, and that's the one that we're looking at now. But of course, there's not just an overnight change from that dark brown to the lovely and complex coloration of the adult. There's a couple of molts that have to happen, and so there's kind of an intermediate phase where this young Bateleur is going to look a little bit like a cross between the adult and the juvenile. And so normally a juvenile that looks like this, with the light brown coloration, normally an indication of a youngster that's between 2 and 3 years old. And it'll normally take about 7 years for it to reach that lovely black and white and red of the adult bird. Oh, there's a crocodile. I've just seen on the other side of the waterhole, just beneath where that Bateleur is sitting. Can you see there's a dead tree there, Johan, that's fallen into the water? Yep. If you zoom in just underneath where that, just underneath the tree, and just to the right of the roots, there's a crocodile. Just see its back sticking out of the water. And I just come left, that tree that's lying in the water, yeah, and zoom into the dead center there. There you go. See on the left-hand side of your screens, everybody, you can just see its tail. Its back and its tail, which are in the water. I think its head is out of shot. See the little bumps on its back. There we go. See its front legs? Doesn't look like a particularly big crocodile. But I think, like many of the animals on this cold morning, it's hauled itself out the water to try and get some sunshine, try and warm itself up before it's able to start moving around, start hunting. Oh, and the wind is dying down beautifully, and now I can actually feel my fingers again after the chill of the morning. 3-banded plovers calling in the distance or in the background. That shrill, high-pitched, or shrieking, for lack of a better term to describe it. It looks like that young Bateleur is starting to preen itself, everybody. I'm sure that in a bird of that size, we spoke earlier about smaller birds and how amazing it is that they're able to keep warm in such chilly conditions. So a bit of a bigger bird like this Bateleur, pretty much better able to keep warm in the cold. And pretty soon, a bit like we spoke about the vulture earlier this morning, it's going to take to the wing and start to look for food. And that ties in with your question, Moondust. You're asking if at this age it will already be hunting on its own. Moondust, yes, it will be. It will be scavenging and foraging for itself. So Bateleurs, despite their beautiful appearance, they are also, just like vultures, they also like to feed on carrion. They do hunt for themselves as well, but they'll often, you can often see them sitting around carcasses or perched in trees near to carcasses. And because of the way that they fly, so the vulture we saw earlier, that bird is adapted for flying super high up in the air. Those massive wings kind of just hanging in the air and scanning the ground far below, whereas the Bateleur is better known for flying much lower to the ground. And have a look at while it's sitting there. See how short its tail is. It's got a very short tail designed for maximum maneuverability. So when it flies, the flight often looks rather unstable because of how short that tail is. It kind of rocks from side to side. And it'll kind of zigzag, a bit like that secretary bird was doing, how it was walking through the bush. This Bateleur will zigzag across the ground, in the air, but like flying over the ground. Zigzagging across the plains, constantly scanning the ground, looking for any signs of a carcass or its own prey. And if it does find something, it will then kind of whirl around, and if there's no bigger predators try to land, come down to feed. And very often it's actually the presence of Bateleurs diving down to come and feed on a carcass that attracts the attention of vultures. And often the vultures will then follow the lead of the Bateleur. If they see Bateleurs diving down towards something, then that normally will then pique their interest, and they'll then come down to come and investigate what the Bateleurs come down for. There's an African wattled lapwing that's just landed on the edge of the water. That was the kind of laughing sound that you may have heard just a few moments ago. It's just landed on the other side of the water. If you just come from that same tree on where that crocodile was, midway between that tree and then the further left fever tree. There it is. Well done. An African wattled lapwing. See those lovely yellow legs and the little white forehead? And it's a bit tough to see because it's quite far away, but it's got a lovely little wattle that hangs from its bill. A very distinctive call. That kind of laughing sound that it was making just now. Amazing how still the water is all of a sudden. Like we were saying, the wind was dying down a little bit, and now it's just beautiful. The reflections of the fever trees on the water. I don't want to leave this spot. I just want to sit here in the sun. There's no wind blowing, we're not cold. Yo, look at that scene, everyone. It's just the most magnificent place. It would be a perfect spot. Ooh, look at that little island over there. Can you imagine having a cup of coffee there? Cup of coffee, or a cup of hot chocolate, cup of tea, whatever your preference might be. And maybe a crunchy, or a cookie, or a rusk. For those of you who don't know what a rusk is, it's a South African like dipping cookie, but it's not sweet. It's almost like a biscotti, but I think that would be a perfect place to have a morning coffee break.
Hi, I'm Dee from the south coast of England. Today I was told I have won the most amazing prize to go to Marataba. Oh, I can't believe it. I became hooked on WildEarth last year when I was trying to escape COVID, and animals are my thing. I just love them and I love what WildEarth does. So that's why I wanted to become an explorer. Just so looking forward to going out to Marataba. Want to do a walking safari. Thank you so much, WildEarth.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and it could be you jetting off on an all-expenses-paid-for safari experience. WildEarth Explorers. It's in your nature. As one of the industry's best and Fagasa-endorsed training institutes, NJ Moorfield Guide College produces professional guides of exceptional caliber and gives students from around the world an incredible experience. NJ Moore offers courses to suit all types of interests. The full-length career course results in a Fagasa accredited qualification and the option of a 6-month internship at one of Moore Family Collection's luxury safari lodges. Shorter courses are a great introduction for those considering a career in field guiding or even a life-enriching experience in your gap year. With spaces still available in July, don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity to live your African dream.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we have spent our morning with a beautiful cheetah. Very much fun for BK and I, but sadly, you all know I'm going to say it. Before I say it, we had no signal. Rather frustrating, but let's not dwell on it. I'll post a photo. I got a beautiful photo on my Instagram later today, and I know some of you will be able to identify it, and I would appreciate that very, very much. That's not often you see cheetah on Djuma. I know you're spoiled for choice at Phinda and Tswalu, but here it's a rare occurrence. We've had some good cheetah sightings, but really they're few and far between. BK seems to be my lucky charm. So as we head back into Djuma to see what else we can find, I'm going to send you guys over to Dan.
Cool, welcome back everybody. So as those leopards cut out of the drainage line, I kind of went back out kind of to the area where it looked like they were going. They didn't come out on the game path that they were following, so I turned around, went back into the drainage line, and their tracks were on top of ours as we just left. So they kind of turned back around, and I'm going very slowly here. I'm looking at tracks on the ground, seeing if they're not coming out of there. The tracks are coming towards our left-hand side here. So I'm checking the road very carefully to see if they haven't crossed over here, and then I've got an extra pair of eyes on the back, and Owen, OD, he's keeping a really good lookout, and he's a really good spotter to have. It's always nice having extra eyes in the back, because for me to do both looking for tracks and spotting of animals can be very difficult. So you'll see guests as well get so involved in looking for animals like this, while myself and a tracker are looking for tracks. They are the ones that are really eyes peeled, looking for any kind of movement or even a spot. I don't know if you noticed that tail of that female leopard when she was walking. She's not really hunting right now, so that tail will be flicked up and there's like a flash at the back. So it doesn't look like there are any tracks coming out here just yet. And Odie hasn't spotted anything. They were certainly moving with some purpose though this morning. Nova, how many litters has this female leopard had? This is her third. So her first litter she gave birth to in a small drainage line not too far away from here, and they unfortunately got washed away in a big storm. Her cubs died. She comes into estrus quickly again. Oh, check my microphone. Is that sounding better, Odie? Sorry. So once her cubs die, she'll come back into estrus again, and that'll allow her to fall pregnant again. Then she fell pregnant again quite soon after her cubs died, and then she gave birth to her second litter. I think it was of 2 as well, but only one of them survived, and that was about 2.5 years ago. And the one female that did survive is kind of operating a territory a little bit further east of where we are. You'll often find female leopards like donating a part of their territory to their daughters. So her daughter's operating a little bit further east, and now the Ngala female, who we're looking for with her 2 new cubs, is moving around in this area. So this is her third litter. First litter, unsuccessful. Second litter, 1 out of potentially 2 survived, and now 2 for 2. So she's an incredibly good mother, and yes, she is learning, like all of us. We're always learning, particularly from our mistakes. And it's so amazing to see how she's developed her mothering skills over the past few years, with the first litter not being successful, then 50%, now to 100%. And she's got them to 18 weeks. They're still not in the clear, that's for sure. They're still incredibly vulnerable. One mistake by one of the cubs is life-threatening. Potentially a mistake by mom or the female will jeopardize the safety of the cubs as well. But just also from this movement, I'm sure she's taking these cubs to another carcass, which is also one of the very tricky parts about being a female leopard, or a mother, in fact. Providing for your children can be incredibly tricky, particularly out here when you haven't just got food around every corner, and if it is around every corner, it's certainly not easy to catch. Okay, so it doesn't look like those tracks are coming out here, and I think we've gone too far for them to come out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly do a little U-turn and head back towards the drainage line where we last saw them. Because remember this morning we were tracking them. This morning when we were tracking them, they kind of cut out of the drainage line and then cut back into it. Pete, how many cubs does a leopard normally have? Normally 2, but it's not unheard of to have 3. And often when there is 3, 1 won't survive. So there's a chance that this female leopard had 3 cubs, but we've only ever seen 2. So even if she did have 3, the 1 didn't survive very long at all. So generally they'll have 2. It's quite tricky to look after 2 as well. You'll see lions who will generally have 4 cubs. They've only got 4 teats, so it's a bit easier to suckle like that. So they've at least got the benefit of having a lot of other lions to help look after them. Whereas a leopard, being completely solitary, the only time you'll ever really see leopards together is a mother and cubs, or if leopards are mating. And that'll also only be for a couple of days at a time. For the most part, they are solitary, independent animals. Okay, so still taking it quite slowly, as we might have just come past this road and they were just a little bit too far to our right to actually spot them. Did they cross over, Odie? Odie's just preempting that luck of the draw. They're going to come out behind us now. But that's also why I just did this U-turn, because there is a chance that they do pop up behind you and you want to catch them before they do. It's also what's so amazing about the art of tracking is if they did pass behind us, I'll be able to tell very easily. These tracks will be over our tracks from this morning or from 5 minutes ago, and that'll mean they're incredibly fresh. Carefully scan here. We were to find her kind of using this drainage line that we saw her in earlier. As I was saying much earlier, in fact, that they do use the drainage lines. It's easy to walk, quite undetected, and you can easily pop out into the banks looking for food. Okay, so I'm going to quickly pop back into this drainage line, see if we can't come lucky with these leopards, and I'll send you over to Lauren while I do that.
If all PK look like we're being charged from afar. We can see you behind that tree. Actually, maybe we should forward a little bit because I'm trying to figure out the best view here, but I think going forward might be the answer. But if all else fails, you've always got the Ellies. And my goodness, I appreciate the Ellies. You're all full of beans this morning, aren't you? You're also, yes, you're also full of beans. Did you have too much coffee? I didn't have enough. I drink far too much coffee. It's my one vice that... Yeah, it's the one thing I need to cut down on. My coffee is extremely strong. This one, I'm wondering if you're going to cross in front of the car, are you? It's so good to see you guys.
Ja, precies, dat was de video of Chitwa.
We're in a wonderful Ellie sort of cycle at the moment. I saw some crazy things online, as you always do, but someone would, the wild has its cycles, and it does. And I touched on this last night, but we don't always see leopards. We don't always see lions. Now, the lions are way back on Buffelshoek now, so we can't see them. We spend as much time with them as we can. Look at the hyenas. I was at the den every single day, and everyone used to complain, or some people used to complain, why is she at the den? And now we don't have a den. Now those days are long gone. We just get the briefest little glimpses of June and Tima. It's really not like it used to be. So you always have to appreciate the cycle you're in. And trust me, in a few weeks, these elephants could all be gone off the properties that we can traverse, and we might not see elephants for days on end, if not weeks. Just the natural ebb and flow of the wild. We're not in a zoo. We're in a wild space. Yes, there are humans here, so it's maybe not 100% wild, but the animals roam. It's an entirely wild space for them to move freely. The insects have gone. That's why it's important to spend time with the insects in summer. The migrants have gone. All the birds have gone. Vanished. Not all the birds, but the migrants, the summer birds, shall we call them. And because now is very much the time for the Ellies, we're going to try and enjoy every sighting with them. Okay, I wonder if I can go forward. Beaks, let's try and go forward. I always always drive off really, really slowly. The bush is thinned out a 10-fold, 100-fold, but sometimes you can just get that one thick patch where there could easily be an elephant there. You don't want to startle them. This way. Hello, you. No luck on the leopard that was calling, or heard calling on the dam cam. It's obviously much further away because we did the immediate sort of loops, or it's in the block. Or it teleported, or flew, I'm not sure. But Ellies, I have to say, are pretty easy to find. Noisy, leave lots of marks behind. Bushy, you're right, nothing more entertaining than young elephants. Especially when all the adults are relaxed and mom is just feeding, she's chilling. And this young Ellie's just taking an absolute tantrum for no reason, charging the car. But none of the adults are paying attention. None of the adults are taking it seriously at all. That's particularly entertaining. They're just trying to get attention and make some noise, typical youngsters. They get themselves all worked up. If it was a real threat, then the adults would react, absolutely. There would be a completely different reaction, but they know when the youngster's just being naughty. Taking that whole branch there, why not? Why have a stick when you can have the whole branch? This cow has exceptionally large tusks. They both look remarkably even from this angle. But there will be a slightly shorter one. It's difficult to tell from the way we are positioned. You can see her mammary glands are there, they're present, but they're not so full. They don't seem really, really full with milk, which suggests she's not possibly lactating at this moment. You see they're there, but she's not, definitely not full like you see all the other moms around here. It's really tricky to tell the difference from male and female elephants, especially from a distance, but the body shape really is entirely different when you look at a cow and a bull, especially the older ones. They really grow into quite distinctive, different body shapes. Well, I'm almost home, and I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to sit with these Ellies for the rest of the drive.
Well, while Oren sits with Ellies, we've had a quiet morning, so we're just taking it easy with some impalas. Somebody told us that there was guinea fowl alarm calling in this area, so we're just sitting quietly and listening. So you can join us in our endeavour to try and pick up if there's any sign of anything in this area. Alright, well, we're going to carry on, probably leave these guys to themselves. Seems like there's no alarm calls around here. Let's just keep heading on and see what we see.
Cool, everybody, welcome back. So, done a great big circle around. It's amazing. Done a very short game drive in terms of kilometers this morning. This leopard has kind of been moving. I mean, leopards don't move terribly far in terms of how far I can drive in a game drive. But we'll find her, then she'd disappear. We'll find her again. So now I'm kind of checking an area that I haven't checked yet this morning. It is still the same drainage line. And if her behavior continues the way it has throughout the morning, she might end up coming back into this part of the drainage line. So it's definitely worth a check. I did touch on it a little bit earlier. These drainage lines have got such perfect areas to hide carcasses, nice big trees with overhanging horizontal branches. You also, as a leopard, have the advantage of being able to stand on the bank before you climb into a tree. So keeping our eyes peeled here. The problem with driving in a drainage line like this is that your area of view is somewhat restricted. You only have what you can see in front of you and directly on the sides of you. The banks are quite high. The vegetation in drainage lines like this is also quite thick. So you've got to really be careful. And having thick, dry vegetation at this time of the year so blends in perfectly with the leopard. If she just kind of sits down, she'll watch you drive past, and if you're not looking in the right area, you're going to miss her completely. It's just a really good birding in the drainage line like this. Beautiful big trees, lots of cover. A couple of fly catchers. Just saw a rattling testicular fly past. Saw 2 Bateleurs this morning in this drainage line as well. There's a vulture's nest at the top there. There's one of those trees I was telling you about. The jackalberry tree. And right at the top of it is a vulture. You can just see its head there. There it is. You see that little stick platform? That's its nest. It'll very likely be a male and a female and maybe a chick. I mean, the eggs would have just hatched or they're getting close to hatching. Kind of pick a tall tree like that as well. There's another bird that's just flown in. can't see it for now. Let me move forward a little bit. Looked like it might have been a kingfisher of sorts. It might have been a brown-hooded kingfisher or a striped kingfisher. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Odie, can you see it? Just on the left is that jacket plum or gardenia, the bottom left of it. You got it. So Odie's now got it. Yeah, it's a brown-hooded kingfisher. And it's busy hunting at the moment. See how its head's moving, it's looking for insects. So have a look at that bill as well. So I mentioned that it might have been a brown-hooded or a striped kingfisher, both insect-eating kingfishers, and can be confused from time to time. But have a look at that beak. Can you see how it's red at the top and red at the bottom? And and if you look at the front of its chest, it's quite plain. It does have a slight tinge to it, like an orangey kind of tan-colored tinge. The striped kingfisher is slightly smaller than this bird, but if you're not seeing them next to each other, it can look like it's the same size. It's got kind of markings on the front of its chest, and quite easily is that bill or the beak. The brown-hooded kingfisher has got a red and a red beak, whereas the striped kingfisher has got a red and a black. Beautiful bird. Look at the blue at the back of its wings. Just watching carefully, and if anything, any kind of an insect kind of moves out of the grass or jumps, that kingfisher will be waiting, ready to snap it up. Okay, I'm going to keep going while we watch this kingfisher. It might fly off as we drive. I really hope I don't disturb it. It might be sitting there waiting, in fact, to see if I don't disturb some insects on the way through. It'll actually be nice to see if we... Oh, no, there it goes. Let's see if we could get a good view of the light on it, but it wasn't patient enough. But he says it's just into this tree over here. Ooh, is that another one? Second one might have flown around to join it. Let's see if we can get a good view, or else I might just keep going. There it is, Ode. You see it there? It's just on the edge of that quarry. See there's those root systems? Just above the root systems on that horizontal branch in the quarry. Sorry, a little bit of visual navigation to try and get Odie to see if he can... So a little bit up and then to the right. A little bit further right. No, okay, a bit further left, Odes. Left, much further. A little bit further, and then zoom in a bit there. Okay, and a little bit up and left. On that branch there. See it there? You got it. So it's at the top of your screen there. You're just trying to get the camera in the right place. I know it's very tricky, actually. There it is, sitting in the shade. You can... Oh, there we go. Really showing off that red and red beak. That's something that I look for between the brown-hooded and the striped. Obviously, their calls are also substantially different. This one is quiet for now, but if it did make a call, we'll be able to tell very quickly whether it's a brown-hooded or a striped kingfisher.
We have another wonderful guest with us, Sergio Real. Sergio is a holder of the Ticket to Dream.
I bought a Ticket to Dream because I love WildEarth. All of the guides have been awesome. We've been watching for years, and it's a favorite part of my day to get to watch the drives. I look forward to seeing lots of leopards.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
My favorite part of the drive today was definitely an elephant that paid us a visit and came right to our car.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
It's amazing being on a live drive in Djuma. It's just fantastic. The scenery is beautiful and the animals are even better.
The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, encourages people to care for the earth. Through innovative projects, they aim to reverse the serious issues that we face in the world today. One of these projects is Green Coast, a proudly South African award for sensitive and well-managed coastal sites. This sustainability project protects our national coastlines while providing unemployed youth with a love for their environment and a hope for the future. WESA is a membership and volunteer-supported organisation. Every supporter is helping to change the only earth we have. Visit our website to see how you can help care for our earth.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
The herd has all but pretty much disappeared. And there's just this one straggler. There's always a straggler. Something must be really delicious there. But as soon as this one disappears, unfortunately, that's them all gone into the block. This is actually my least favourite block out of the whole reserve. I'm sure Tristan will say the same. Kalamba goes in here all the time. She loves it. But it's so tricky to off-road in. It's still really thick, actually. It's still very, very thick. The buffalo have clearly not made their way through here yet. Nor enough elephants. Susie, you're saying it's incredibly efficient how they strip the branches off their bark. They're very good at it too, aren't they? And they don't really want that outer bark. The bark that we can see is actually the dead bark. It's dead. The living tissue's on the inside of the tree. And that's where you'll find all the nutrients of the tree. Of the xylem and the phloem, that's the sort of transport areas where the water goes up from the roots to the leaves for photosynthesis to nourish. And then, of course, all the sugars that are made from photosynthesis need to travel down to the roots. And that's where all that happens. And the cambium layer is sandwiched in there. And that's normally what the elephants are trying to get, the living tissue, the nutrients. They will crunch through bark, but really that's the dead part, the outer part of the tree. Once the living tissue dies, it moves outwards towards the outer edges, and that's what we can see. The living tissue is on the inside, protected by the outer bark, which we can't see. So you're right, elephants know exactly which part of the tree they want. There's no doubt about it. And in winter, they have to be resourceful. They have to be efficient. They have to survive. Don't disappear, little one. I'm just looking around, just in case I'm missing a big grey body. Unfortunately, the herd has gone into the block. There's one. Do you think you can get it from here, Beaks? I think is that the same one? It's the same one. Sorry, it's the same one. Oh, it's been one of those mornings, y'all. Didn't get lucky with the leopard that was sawing. I think it was just coming from extremely far away. And BK and I didn't hear it, so we weren't able to quite pinpoint the direction, but that's okay. Leaves lots of promise for this afternoon at least. And, well, the cheetah. It was skittish as soon as the second mobile arrived after us. It didn't want to hang around anyway. There's a high density of other predators here. Cheetahs have to be nervous. That's a lovely view of a tree there, BK. I think I can get the elephant. Or we can get 2% of it. How's that? We're going to finish with a big grey bottom. Why not? But it has come to that time, everyone, where we must say goodbye. The end of the sunrise safari, but there's always a sunset. So please do join us then, and until, have a great day.